Hi, I'm Thomas Brown, and this is my informative speech, and today is November the 13th, 2019.
Okay.
So, as described by Karen Krajewski in the Gale Encyclopedia of Neurological Disorders, Charcot-Marie-Tooth, or CMT disease, is the name of a group of inherited disorders of nerves throughout the body that communicate with motor and sensory information to and from the spinal cord and the brain. And this causes weakness and loss of sensation in the limbs. It was discovered by 3 neurologists, sometimes they're called physicians. It really varies depending on who you research. Jean-Martin Charcot, Pierre Marie, and Henry Tooth. It's also called hereditary motor and sensory neuropathy, and sometimes people call it the perineal muscular atrophy, which is because of the damage it does down here to your lower legs. And although it was discovered in the late 1800s, it wasn't until the early 1990s that they figured out what the cause of it was in the genes, and they still don't know a lot of the different types. So here's some of the basic information about the genetic causes. It's caused by a change or mutation in any one of the several genes that carry the instructions to the peripheral nerves. Basically, genes contain the basic information needed to make the body grow and develop even before and after we're born. There's at least 15 different types of genes that could cause CMT, and a lot of them haven't really been identified yet. And this is a regular motor neuron. The 2 things you want to be note of is the myelin there and the axon, which is sort of myelin's covering it. The axon carries signals from the brain and spinal cord to the muscles, and the myelin is a special sheath that covers it that basically makes them travel faster, and makes them get there efficiently, and they also provide them with nutrition to keep the axon and the nerve healthy. Now, in a CMT nerve, that myelin sheath, it will start to disintegrate because the axons don't produce enough, or the genes don't produce enough protein to make healthy axons and myelin sheaths. So it'll start disintegrating. So without normal axons, it results in weaker signals being transmitted from the brain and spinal cord, and then the weaker the signal, it makes it slower because the myelin is not doing its job because it's going away. So basically, with the weaker electrical signals and the slower transmission of those signals, the person with CMT experiences weakness in the limbs because those signals are not strong and healthy like a person who does not have CMT. So now we're going to talk about the symptoms. Symptoms usually progress very slowly over a person's lifetime. The major problems are with the hands and the feet, and it's like the loss of sensation in the hands and feet. We're going to see a picture of one of the feet. The first symptoms are usually problems with the feet, like high arches, like this one, issues with walking and running, tripping while walking, spraining ankles is a big issue. Muscle loss in the feet and calves leads to foot drop, where you can't lift your foot off the ground, it just sticks like this. And then, even despite this, the vast majority of people with CMT are able to walk their whole life. So this is kind of a demonstration of foot drop. Normal foot, you can move it up and down, but this one, it just doesn't move. It can't come off the ground. And this is the main nerve, or part of the main nerves that are affected. And then, over time, usually it starts in the legs, then it gets to the hands and the fingers, and they lose muscles there too, and it makes it hard to button things up, it makes it hard to zip up things, and accomplish things with your fingers. In some cases, you can develop tremors within your hand, and then you also can't tell if it's hot. Like if you wash clothes, you can't tell if they're hot or cold when they come out of the dryer. You can't feel. It's hard to tell if there's anything there. It's like having a bunch of calluses, is what I would describe it as. To be diagnosed with Charcot-Marie-Tooth disease, there are a few neurological tests that can determine the extent and distribution of the weakness. First, a thorough family history can and should be also taken to determine if other people in the family could be affected, because it is inherited, it's hereditary, it goes through the family. It can also be done to rule out other different neuropathy problems, which may not be CMT. First, they do a nerve conduction velocity test, which I have a picture of here, and it's performed to measure how fast the signals travel, the impulses travel through the nerves. Then they can also do an electromyography or an electrical test of the muscles, which just means the reflex, I believe. This is a picture of a nerve biopsy of someone with CMT. It can be performed as well, and it will tell you the characteristic changes of CMT in the nerves. However, none of the tests previously I told you can 100% tell you if you have CMT, and they might not even be necessary at all, especially for the nerve biopsy. The best way to do it is by genetic testing, which is you have a vial of blood and they'll test it and see if there's detection, if there's mutations in the genes that are defective. So, according to the Gale Encyclopedia of Genetic Disorders, Charcot-Marie-Tooth disease is the most inherited disorder involving peripheral nerves. In 2008, Roy Fundugain, an editor for Gale, reported that an estimated 150,000 people in the United States had CMT. I assume that is kind of staying relatively the same to this day. Worldwide, Charcot-Marie-Tooth disease affects 1 in every 3,300 people, or as Miranda Herbert Ferraris says in her book, human diseases and conditions around the neighborhood of 2.5 million people worldwide. It's also known to be spread across all races and ethnic groups, so no one is an exception there. There is currently no cure for CMT, but people have been testing new drugs and new stem cells, and it has been shown to work in some cases for the basic types. However, if you have a different type like CMT 2, 2B, 2A, whatever, they haven't tested for that yet because it's so severe. You're trying to get the basics done. But there are ways to manage and treat. Physical and occupational therapy are very important. Physical therapy can preserve the range of motion, minimize the deformity caused by muscle shortening or contraction. Occupational therapy is used where they give you braces and technology that helps you do basic life things like dressing, buttoning, feeding, riding, and other routine activities, running, walking. A big example of that are the braces, which are sometimes used to improve the control of the lower extremities that can be affected, and in most cases it works very tremendously with the balance. However, people often find they do have more energy because they're using less energy to focus on walking. But there is some cases that I know of where the braces don't always work, and people become more reliant, their bodies get more reliant on them, so without braces, then they cannot really function. This is a picture of what it looks like. Then there's no muscle here, it's just bone. It's important that people with CMT avoid injury, such as breaking a leg, because that could cause them to be immobile for a long time, and we want to keep moving with this. If you stay immobile, it just gets worse. It's often difficult for people with CMT to return to their original strength after an injury. And so that has been my speech on CMT. Thank you.